And here, if a mythical champion is going to swap forms, then it does count as a skill being used. So he swaps, has a skill used, we go in and petrify. That's actually huge because that means that champions like Commodus, champions like Gizmak, champions like even Galathier potentially, you lock him out in the first form, you have the True Fear placed, well, now he can't swap forms, and if he does, he's going to be petrified, basically. And petrification is like, okay, you're guaranteed to do nothing. So now it's, okay, do we wait it out in the first form? So here, petrified, can't do anything. That's very powerful there, actually. All right, guys, so we're over on the test server, and we're going to take a first look at Lord Entertainer Fabian. So I've seen mostly hype around this guy, but I have seen a few players saying that he's just not worth going for. So let me know where you stand. Let me know if it changes at the end of this video. But either way, first look at his build. What I have him in is Stone Skin plus Pinpoint. It is 4 pieces of Stone Skin, 4 pieces of Pinpoint. You don't have to do this. I think he's a very good go first team. So like an Arbiter into him, very good champion, building with accuracy, fairly simple. But I also think he could have some pretty serious uses in like a go second team because of how some of his skills work. With that said, let's go take a look at some of his skills. His A1 is attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit steals 10% of the target's turn meter, which, to be honest, is not bad. However, if they have their turn meter fully depleted, it's going to place True Fear. This is not going to happen very often because 2 hits of 10% turn meter steal isn't that significant. So unless they've just taken a turn, it's very unlikely to happen. His A2 skill attacks one enemy, places Petrification debuff for 1 turn, has a 100% chance of placing True Fear for 2 turns on all other enemies who are not under Fear or True Fear. The cool thing about this skill, though, is the passive effect. Activates this skill whenever an enemy under Fear or True Fear debuff successfully uses skill. Now, in my previous video about him, I was wondering, does a skill 1 count as a skill or not? It's not an active skill, but from my testing, it is in fact a skill. So he will use this passive even if they just use their A1. That's important because his skill 3 is an AoE attack that before attacking decreases the duration of all enemy buffs by 3 turns. This is very important because that means it can't weak hit. So it's going to just decrease those durations on everything except for, like, of course, Stone Skin. Potentially it will, potentially it won't. And then things like Bolster or Protected buffs, it also won't decrease the duration of. Then has a 100% chance of increasing the cooldowns of all enemy skills by 3 turns. That is why the passive is so important for this skill 3, is because if all the skills are decreased, but they use a skill 1 because they have no other option to use anything else through the True Fear, will this still counterattack? The answer is yes. I'll show you guys that in just a moment. But then the skill 3, and this is kind of why I think he could be good in a go second team, grants an extra turn if there are no buffs on the enemy team after this attack. So if they go through their Stone Skin, if they work through their Bolster a little bit, he could be very good in a go second team. Now, I think primarily he'll be in a go first team right after the Arbiter, or possibly as just the fastest champion in your account. Maybe I try that as well in just a little while. Actually, I will try that, but not first. And then his passive, whenever an enemy is revived, places a True Fear debuff on that champion for 2 turns. If there are multiple champions, only one will activate. Also, removes all crowd control effects from this champion except for Polymorph. That's pretty crazy. It's honestly a very stacked kit. Let's see if it actually works the way we're thinking it's going to work. So first up, let's go to Dragon. As far as dungeon content, there's not going to be a whole lot to showcase here, to be honest. But I do want to showcase how that skill 2 interaction works if they have everything locked out, because that is very important, especially in like longer fights. And honestly, anything you're trying to progress in content, everybody's locked out. We're going to go in and use the A2. Everybody has True Fear. Perfect. Now, the cool thing about him versus Armand's is very good for wave control, but what he's not very good for is wave control if you're using an HP burn champion. He has so much turn meter stealing that he is lapping back around to his turns, constantly keeping them never taking a turn. So for HP burn, it's basically useless. Fabian, on the other hand, he places True Fear, so they don't get their turn meter affected whatsoever other than from his A1, so they're going to take turns. Now let's see if anybody here does a skill 1. Okay, so far nobody's doing anything. Petrification, there we go. Skill 1 used, and then he's going to go in, petrify him, True Fear on everybody. So yes, in the arena, he is a polymorph magnet. He has a bunch of chances to get polymorphed, but a thing like Wand of Submission turns those chances in you being polymorphed into chances of the enemy being polymorphed. So pretty crazy stuff there. But for wave control, Doom Tower, dungeons, faction wars, Cursed City, this dude's top tier. If he can be used in the room, if he can be used in the area, he locks them down. Now, he may not be the most tanky champion. Let's take a look at his base stats, because I've noticed he's kind of difficult to keep alive. I do have the 5-star soul because we should be able to get this, but even without this, he's going to still be, of course, even more squishy than before. I mean, to be fair, 19,000 HP is not too bad. 1,100 defense seems maybe a little bit low. If we were to compare this to good old Armand's, I just feel like Armand's is tankier, and he is. He's a little bit tankier, but not significantly. Fabian does have a bit more base speed, which is cool, at 109 versus that 108. Either way, you're going to have to be mindful about keeping him alive, especially for like wave-based content, but he has everything locked down, so it's only going to be A1 skills you have to worry about anyways. Now, that is for the non-PvP areas. So Dungeon's good, Faction War's good, Cursed City good, Doom Tower good. But if you already have speed teams for Dungeons and Doom Tower, then you're not going to be using him there. He's not going to make your teams faster, unless, of course, somehow Fortis gets into this mix and is able to like just blow up things with his A3 skill, which unfortunately I don't have him on this account, so I can't test that. But if that was the case, then maybe he could do decent. But let's take a step back and say, okay, he's not going to be great for speed clears, but he's great for, I guess, slow and steady and getting you through the waves in most content. So outside of Dungeons, Faction Wars, and Doom Tower, we have Cursed City, which of course is going to be great. But then we have Siege and the Arena. Now, Clan Siege, he is going to be part of, I can almost guarantee it, the most meta team. Now, we do have some new mythical champions, which this lady is crazy good from just the initial reading of her kit. I'll do a video on her soon. But she will be in the Undead Faction Wars, or the Undead Siege teams without a doubt. But even if she wasn't, let's say you don't have her, most players won't have her, who else do we have? Faction, Undead Horde. Let's see. Well, we have UDK, crazy champion. We have Fabian. We have, what's his other champion's name? Heraclites. And then you could go Siphi Rhodos. You could go Heraclites. I think he hits fairly hard. And then Siphi. You could do Siphi plus Rhodos. Basically, Fabian plus UDK plus the other Undead Horde champions are going to be very good. Throw in with Heraclites as well. And basically, you have the best Undead Horde. I can almost guarantee that Fabian will be in the most meta siege teams for Undead Horde. It's just going to be how it works. He has so much control, so much good stuff in his kit. The lockout itself is extremely powerful. So we'll see how that happens in the future. But outside of Siege, because that's where those faction unity champions I think really shine, is in Siege. So outside of Clan Siege, let's go take a look at the area that most players are going to be excited for this champion to be used, and that is the Arena. So we're going to try a few different builds today. Unfortunately, I don't have any relics on this account. Let's click Crusen's team. It's going to be a little difficult because we're probably not going to lock him out, but we're going to try Arbiter. This is going to be like a basic team. Now, of course, you may not have the Void Legendaries, Empowered Champions, and so on, but it's going to be basic in the sense that we have these two champions, a speed booster who is speed tuned with Fabian. So in this case, I don't actually know if Arbiter is perfectly speed tuned or not, but they're both pretty fast. So she is 437, and then Fabian, he may be a little bit slow, but I think he's okay. He may need to be like 380, but he's 353 right now. So we have these two champions, and then from here, I'm going to throw in a Georgid and then a Necrit. It doesn't have to be these two champions. It could really be anybody else, but the main focus of Fabian here is going to be Arbiter boosts, Fabian locks out. Now, there's a caveat with that. If you go against a lot of mythical champions, that lockout is not as powerful. And you'll probably see it here. If I lock out the Galathier, which I kind of doubt it because I don't have enough accuracy, I can almost guarantee it. But if I do, he'll just swap forms. I can switch, I can get Erbaeus in this team to hopefully lock him out. But he does that. So now we're not going to be in a great spot versus this team. We're going to get locked out. There's no way for me to reset my skill cooldowns. So I've been seeing some players also saying that he is a power crept Crixia. It's definitely not. Crixia has a reset cooldown skill. She's a mythical champion. She is going to be better in a lot of these areas, I do believe. He is going to be better in different situations as well, though. So they both have their pros and cons. Now, if I was go back in here, let's see if we were able to take Erbaeus. She's actually still geared. I didn't think she was. Cool. So we'll use Airbase this time. So he's going to be at like 700, 800 accuracy or so. See if that is able to lock him out. If it is, then we're in a little bit different of a situation this time. Okay, the Yumiko resists, unfortunately. But I can just use the A2. Actually kills the Galathier, which is awesome. Sorry, not the Galathier, the Taras. You see when he's rezzed, he's actually getting the True Fear placed on him, which is perfect. Because if he uses a skill, which now he can only use a skill one, no other option, then we're going to see what's going to happen from there. So while his passive is locked, it's not a huge deal. Because even when he uses that, okay, it actually does. I was wondering how that was going to work. Not his passive, his active skill. So if his active skill is locked, then we won't be able to use that skill too. Now, if I try to steal turn meter, I might steal a little bit, but it's not a significant amount necessarily. So we do need to get this block actives away in order to actually do anything. But we do have that True Fear on the Taras. He is locked out, which is the most powerful thing here. We get back around to Fabian, hopefully in just a second, before Yumiko does any lockout stuff. She does lockout to me. Lockouts are never cool. I could have actually locked her out and got the True Fear on her, but Taras is controlled, and we seal the deal. How would that work against Marius? So if he feared everybody, and then we had a mythical swap forms, he's going to go in and petrify the Marius, right? Can Marius even be petrified? I'm not actually... He can't. I don't know, actually. Can he? We're going to find out in just a moment. So, unfortunately, we don't have a mythical who can change forms right now, and nobody's feared. I got an idea if this doesn't work. Just a moment. So, we have the True Fear. There we go. So, he should go petrified. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted to see. So, now it's not a huge deal. We will take one hit, but he'll just be petrified. No problem. Let's switch forms real quick. See it again. She does the A1. It doesn't do anything, actually. Can't do anything. If we had some turn meter decrease, balance the levels of all allies. Let's see that. And then we can continue to petrify him. We can petrify the Siphi. There's a lot of control this dude brings. There's a whole lot of control he brings. Uses the A1 there. We can't steal his turn meter yet, unfortunately. We could steal it in the future, though. That could be cool. Now, UDK is also going to be good to pair with him, because watch this. Look what UDK places. Fear. Fear is exactly what I want to see. He uses that skill 1, gets petrified. So Marius is basically shut down. Oh, I bet you I know another champion who's going to be shut down hard by him. Nice. That's actually really nice. Unfortunately, we don't have any nices to test against. If I could, he'd be another champion who is going to be shut down by Fabian. Somewhat. Not perfect, of course, but he's going to have the True Fear that goes into a petrification that is just going to continue to happen. Now, I wonder if a mythical swap in forms counts as using a skill. All right, so we're going to try this again. I keep not stripping the stone skin. The stone skin is very frustrating, but if we can strip it here, fantastic. We're going to fear the Siegfried. I didn't mean to place Death Brand on him. It's not a huge deal. We'll go ahead and just kill everybody, and what we're going to see is Siegfried swap forms, and then does the swap form count as a skill? I doubt it, but then the res... Will he get petrified from that? So he goes for the res. We go in, petrify, strips that block damage, and now all of a sudden Siegfried is deleted. That's really cool. Now, of course, if I would have put Death Brand on somebody else, it would have been better. But in this situation, it's not a huge deal. Now we are going to try to remove the block buffs. We can petrify whoever I want here. So let's say I want to petrify He-Man to not die. And petrify is, well, assuming it wasn't weak hit, would essentially work as a strip on that block damage. Now, we have plenty more strips, plenty more of everything. I just want to see if He-Man takes a turn, what's going to happen. He doesn't get a turn anyways. We do that A2. Still didn't even place the True Fear, I don't think, on him. But we have a lot of stuff going out, basically, at this moment. Get some block actives going, some more decreased defense. Okay, so he used a skill, Petrify. That's still a weak hit, or just he can't be controlled. I don't know what's going on here, honestly. It's okay, though. We're just going to use that ability. He comes back to life. Block actives. There we go. So, all's well. Basically, Siegfried, he switches forms when he uses a skill. That's when it will work. So he'll res, but then we petrify him, place True Fear on everybody because they're being res. So pretty decent Siegfried counter. Actually allows you to hit into Siegfried. I have to worry about Siegfried getting that block damage and then messing you up, or resing and having to worry about the res going. because it's actually fine. All right, guys. So I spent about 15 minutes probably trying to test something. I did tons of fights versus Scratch's team because I was wondering why the Crixia, the first time I went against him, I did get to use Fabian's A2 when she swapped forms, but on Siegfried I didn't. That's because Siegfried's form swap isn't an actual skill, it's a passive. It's him doing something, but it's a passive ability, whereas Taras, it seemed to be inconsistent, but Taras is a passive that causes him to use an A2 skill. So it works there. And then here, if a mythical champion is going to swap forms, then it does count as a skill being used. So he swaps, has a skill used, we go in and petrify. That's actually huge because that means that champions like Commodus, champions like Gizmak, champions like even Galathier potentially, you lock him out in the first form, you have the True Fear placed, well, now he can't swap forms, and if he does, he's going to be petrified, basically. And petrification is like, okay, you're guaranteed to do nothing. So now it's, okay, do we wait it out in the first form? So here, petrified, can't do anything. That's very powerful there, actually. It's super powerful, especially against those champions. Even a Nice, actually. A Nice is actually, I don't know how his would work, though. Let's actually see. I wish somebody had a Nice on the test server. Basically, after this long testing showcase of Fabian, he is going to be very good, typically, as long as you don't get polymorph, and maybe if you have a Wand of Submission, then you're going to be especially in a better situation. But he can counter some mythical champions in a way. He can deal with a lot of teams. He's going to be very good in a go first type setup. He's going to be good with Queen of Hearts. If you can get True Fears just going in general, he's going to be very good. UDK teams, he's going to be good because UDK does bring a fear from this A2 skill as well. So he can fit into teams like that. Basically, he's going to have a lot of utility in different teams, and I think that we're only going to find more stuff. This is literally just a few hours of me testing it. We're going to find more stuff as time goes on, and he's going to be a champion I strongly believe that if you don't go for, then soon down the road, you're going to regret it. Like, I think this is a champion who is going to be very good, and then his utility isn't going to be fully seen until we get more playtesting and after he comes out actually to the live servers. We can only see so much on the test servers, right? But either way, just the whole mythical swap lockdown thing is honestly enough to sell me like, hey, yeah, I'm going for this champion. That means this Galathier, for example, if we were to lock him out, he can't swap forms, and if he does, he's going to be petrified, which is amazing because I can't stand Galathier, and we're not weak affinity to him. Let's see if I can strip him, see how this works. So we strip maybe, no strip unfortunately. Let's try to get a True Fear. Oh, he resisted me. Dang it. Let's try this one more time against Crusen's team. My Queen of Hearts. Queen, she has, let's see how much accuracy. 428. It's not a ton. Let's see if we got an accuracy chest plate. Accuracy with speed. Priority stats, speed. I don't want that stuff showing. What the heck? We lose 20 speed from that. I have this piece down here. We lose 21 speed. Wow. That is crazy. Crazy slow. Crazy slow. Let's go. Just speed on the helmet. Try to find a good perception helmet. Extra 15 speed. Almost 600 accuracy. Hopefully we can be speed tuned enough to do this. Let's see how it works. So we're going to do the same thing as before, basically. Going to see if he swaps forms and see how powerful this could potentially be. We actually are going to be faster than the Yumiko, which is perfect. We don't get the stone skin off, sadly. We do get it off now, though. They have no cleansers or anything like that. We'll go ahead and just pop this A2. He's going to counterattack, but then get petrified because of... Oh, he gets petrified. They both get petrified. Oh, wait, because he counterattacked, he got petrified. That's actually very interesting as well. So the counterattack caused him to get petrified. And remember, they get petrified, and it's just going to True Fear everybody at that point. We don't have any skills that can be used at the moment, unfortunately. We can try to reduce his... There we go. So he swaps forms, but that was very interesting. So just a counterattack counts as a skill being used. Well, we know that because we saw it from Marius earlier, right? All right, cool. So basically, Fabian, however you want to say it, does do pretty good versus these mythical champions, and having that fear on them when they swap forms does cause them to get locked out, basically. So let me know what you think about this champion. Sorry for the extra long test, but I started getting a little bit carried away with different things that popped up. But either way, hopefully this video is out before the end of the weekend because, yeah, I got to edit this thing. Either way, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know what you think about the Fusion. Are you going for him? Are you skipping him? I think you should go for him, by the way. Either way, Good luck, guys. Hope you have a great weekend. And I'll catch you in the next one.